and it's a pleasure to be with you all to discuss this very exciting and rapidly evolving field. I'm an educator and researcher, and sometimes I get lucky and I innovate. I'm also a associate professor and director of equity, diversity, and inclusion at Workland School of Education. My work focuses on the intersection of technology and education, and at the moment, with a particular interest in promoting generative AI, generative AI literacy for students and educators. I'm really passionate about using this technology to make learning environments more inclusive, accessible, and efficient. So I know that I'm sure everyone has noticed a really widespread adoption of commercial generative AI tools. Everyone's heard of ChatGPT, and there's Perplexity, and there's Scite, and there's Research Rabbit, and Semantic Scholar, and also Litmaps are being used for research, teaching, and also learning across many universities. One thing I forgot to do is give you access to this presentation. So I'm going to put it into a chat. And if you click on that link, you should get access to whatever it is that I'm presenting. So I want you to have it because the links that I'm going to share are on that. So anyway, we have all these commercial products. The University of Calgary has just subscribed to Scite. It's a referencing, AI referencing tool, and I admit it's very powerful. And it's just one of the examples of Scite being one of the examples that show how fast things are moving in this space. And while all these tools have their merits, I think it's important for us to look beyond the off-the-shelf type products. They might be helpful in certain contexts, but they don't fully address the unique needs of our students, faculty, or the specific educational challenges that we face. I truly and honestly believe that the strength of generative AI comes from how customizable it is. If we want to get most out of this technology, we should focus on creating applications that are specifically designed to meet the needs of our students and faculty. And by doing this, we can make sure that the technology fits our unique educational environments, which in turn makes it more practical and useful. So today, what I'd like to do is take a look at a few generative AI tools that I've developed with my colleagues or individually for different areas of higher education. We'll start with Smarty, which is designed for campus-wide use, then move on to Casecraft, which works at a program level, and finally we'll check out Corey, which could also work at program level, but I generally use it at course level. I'll do demos for each one, and you'll get a chance to try them out yourself. I also provide examples of how they can be used in designing learning activities. All these tools are free for you to use, and we can customize them for your unique context or institution. You can get in touch with me, and we can talk about that. At the end, we'll have Q&A, so you're free to ask me anything you'd like. My goal is that by the end of the session, for you to have a really good idea on how these custom AI tools can really make a difference in higher education by making it more inclusive and efficient and better suited to your institution's needs. And it's a really exciting time to be working with this tech. First, a tool I'm going to introduce is Smarty, and I'm going to give you the link in just a minute. It's a tool that I created to address the growing need for more inclusive and engaging course design. In simple terms, Smarty is like your personal course design assistant. As I mentioned before, I'm the director of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I've had many conversations with faculty who are juggling so much. There's teaching, there's research, there's service commitments, You name it, they have to do it. So creating a course that's both challenging and also welcoming to all students, no matter what their background or learning need is a huge task, and it can take up a lot of time. And that's where Smarty comes in. It's like having an AI assistant by your side, offering suggestions and making and hopefully sparking creativity along the way. The whole idea is to help faculty design courses that are not just effective, but also equitable. And I'll give you a couple examples in just a minute. But at the end of the day, using Smarty, or the goal, the reason why it exists, is to improve student success. And with that, I'm just going to dive in. So in order to access Smarty, you go to this link, and I'm just going to put it into the chat. And if you go to that link, you'll come to this interface. And in this interface, well, it tells you what Smarty is. There are different agents that do different things. There's a description of what these agents do. And I'm just going to start with the course structure assistant. And that's Alice. And Alice stands for AI-led instruction and coursework engine. So the way you work with it is you just tell it what kind of course you want to design. So I'm going to say digital literacy and media, which is a course that I used to teach. And I'm going to say I want to teach it for graduate students. And just giving it that information, it's going to give you a title, a purpose, and an overview. And it says, let's move on to formulating the course learning objectives. Can you provide any specific areas or focus skills that you want to develop? I want to say, I'd like to focus on misinformation and disinformation. And now we have course objectives. I'm going to take one of these course objectives. So I'm going to take this one. Create digital content that adheres to ethical standards and promote inclusive, truthful narratives. I'm going to take that. I'm going to say, okay, so here's my course outcome. I want to design a learning task now. So I'll go on to the next agent, which is Clara. And Clara stands for Customized Learning Activity Resource Assistant. And by the way, these are chat interfaces. So if there's any part that you don't like, so you simply tell the AI to change it or update it. Or you would say, you know what, I don't like this area. Give me a different recommendations. And the AI will continue to talk with you until you get the course outcome or outline or activity that you like. So I'm going to paste my course learning objective. I'm going to say this is for graduate level, and that's it. Specific area theme. Let's talk about this information. So once you provide it with all the information that it needs, it's going to create a learning task for you. It's going to give you what preparation you need, what the engagement is, what the reflection activity is, what students need to provide you with, what is the performance criteria, what is the feedback mechanism, a second reflection component, a real-world connection, and also an EDI component, an equity, diversity, and inclusion component. So it's going to give you all that information. And then you look at it and see if this is something that you'd like to do in your class. If it is, then great. If not, then you have to communicate with the AI to change it. You can say, you know what? I don't like this particular part of it, or I don't like any part of it. So please create a different version or provide a different suggestion. So I'm going to take this now, the experiential learning and instruction part. And I guess we're focusing on content creation. And I'm going to go to this agent over here, the course rubric design assistant, right? I'm going to post in my instruction, and I'm going to recall my learning activity. which was create digital content that adheres to ethical standards to promote inclusive and truthful narrative. Here's the activity. And now I'm going to create a rubric for it, for this activity. I want my rubric to have 4 categories, and we'll just leave it at 3 levels. This is going to be for graduate. And I'm going to say, I need you to provide a rubric for me for 2 students, able students and also students with a visual impairment. So 2 different set of rubrics. And let's see what the AI gives us. And it's going to take a minute for it to generate. Okay. So here we have our rubric that's generated specifically for this task. And then we're going to take this rubric and then we're going to redesign it for students with a visual impairment. And if you're wondering where I'm getting all this information from, like how does the AI create a rubric for visual impairment? If you hover over these question marks, it tells you exactly where the information is coming from. There we are. So we have the same rubric, but we have additional considerations over here with regards to accessibility, clarity of language, alternative demonstrations, so on and so forth. So the idea is if you have a student that might have a disability in your class, is it fair or just to use the same exact rubric that you use for able students as you do for a student that has a disability? Are there different accommodations that you can make in order to make that that assessment fair and just for that student? Now, there are different categories here. You can create one with a student that has an auditory impairment. You can create one for a student that might have dyslexia and a student whose first language is not English. If you click on that, then it will give you recommendations on accommodations that you can make for that particular rubric that's going to make the assessment a little bit more just. I'm going to stop here now. You have the link into the chat. There are other agents. So this one tells you how inclusive your reading list is. You enter in the DOIs of your reading list and it creates a report. This one checks for inclusive language, and this is an experiential learning assistant. You upload your course outline and tells you if your learning tasks are experiential or not. But I'm going to give you, so it's 20 past the hour almost, just 2 or 3 minutes. And what I would like you to do is just pick one of these agents, any one that you like, and just play with it for a while. Perhaps enter in a course that you're teaching and see if what the AI is producing is interesting anyway, and try to interact with it. Okay, so the tool is free, by the way, so you can access it anytime you like and play around with it. Hopefully it's useful to you. It's very useful in the Canadian context. We really use it a lot. Different universities, certainly the U of C is using it. The University of Saskatchewan uses it. Ambrose uses it. Trinity uses it. So there are various universities that use this tool. I'd like to talk about how I use this tool for material development. I've provided 3 examples. So I'm in teacher education, so I work with pre-service and in-service teachers. And Smarty is a great tool for helping both of them. For pre-service teachers who are still learning how to design lessons, they can benefit greatly by using Smarty to ensure that their teaching is equitable and accessible from the start. And for pre-service teachers, they can use it to refine their existing practice. So there's a application here, this one, the EDIA Redesign Assistant. So if you already have a task and you want to update it, you can put the task over here, say how you want to update it, and then if you press process, it's going to give you recommendations. It's going to say, what type of recommendations are necessary, how would you implement them, and where would you implement them in your design. Smarty also encourages teachers to really think about their teaching approach. So generating a variety of different rubrics and assignments allows them to reflect on how their material aligns with their learning objective. And this kind of reflective practice is really important for professional growth, particularly for pre-service teachers who are still learning the craft of teaching, and also for in-service teachers to improve their design, particularly for the assessment a bit. Teachers can share rubrics and assessment designed by Smarty with their peers and get feedback. And this peer-to-peer exchange, you can do it in workshops, for example. It's going to create a collaborative learning environment, which is really important for professional growth. And finally, Smarty offers flexibility. It can adapt its suggestions to different classroom settings. So you can modify it based on the real world feedback you get from students. So you take a task, you go into class, you get feedback from your student, but you might not know exactly what to do with that feedback. This tool can certainly help you take in that feedback and change the learning task so that it reflects the learning needs of your students. So let's move on to the next tool that I would like to share today. So again, I mentioned I work with pre-service teachers, and we, when working with them, notice a really big gap between their understanding of theory and practice. A lot of students in our program felt unprepared for the challenges that come with being an educator. And their feedback was, we want more practice rather than theory in class. And of course, we want to keep forward. We want to move forward. And we know that teaching isn't about copy and pasting, especially the same old methods. We evolve through theory. So people need to understand how theory works, the newer theories, and also then create practice from it. At the same time, it's very, very time consuming for an instructor to create cases that are diverse and relevant and engaging enough to bridge the gap between theory and practice. And that's why we've created this tool, and we're going to share that with you in just a minute. My colleague Barb Brown and I developed this tool. And what it does is that it generates customized, hopefully realistic scenarios that cover a wide range of educational situation and challenges. For pre-service teachers, Casecraft offers a safe space to work through these complex scenarios, helping them build decision-making skills and gain confidence before they go into the classroom. And for the instructors, it's a time saver because you can create cases. I'm going to demonstrate for you how that works. So here's the interface. I'm going to go to, there are two contexts that you can select. It's either the K through 12 setting or the adult professional learning setting. I'm going to go to the adult professional learning setting, and I'm going to select a category. We have workplace diversity and inclusion, professional development, and skills upgrading, leadership management challenges, work-life balances, career transition. There are many. I'm going to go with leadership and management challenges. And I'm going to create a subcategory, let's say managing remote teams. This is a big topic. In North America, at least, there's a big push for people to not work from home, come back to the office, and that has created some tension. So let's do that. You can add a context to it. So let's say case must involve a single mother, just for the sake of it. And we're going to generate. It's going to take about 20 seconds. And we're going to generate a case, and we're going to give it The idea is to give that case to students to solve. But the solution must come from theory. It just can't be something that you something that you feel is the right thing to do. So when you generate cases, you get a case, you'll have a background scenario. The context is always going to be Canadian because we created for the Canadian context, but we can adjust it to any context we want. There are characters, and it will tell you the moral or ethical dilemma that is in this case. It'll talk about decision points and it have reflective questions. And what we do is we take this case into various different domains. It could be business, it could be sciences, it could be social work. And we give these cases to students, or we invite students to create these cases. They can create a case that is something that they're very interested in, and then we invite them to solve the case drawing from theory. In our institution, if a student or a group of students is successful in solving a case, we will publish it in our repository so they have some recognition. So there are two contexts above. There's a K through 12 setting and professional learning setting. There are categories there are more categories for K to 12. And what I'd like you to do now is, again, let's just play with this for a little bit. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. You have the link. I'd like you to create your own case. Remember that you can give it context, so it can be very specific to an area, and see if you'd like to create a case that you would want to take to your classroom and have your students think about it. So, okay. Again, Casecraft is free. You're welcome to play around with it. And remember, this is AI. We have it set to English, but we can translate this to any language we want. It doesn't have to be in English. Okay. I'd like to introduce the last tool of this presentation. One of the things that I notice as an educator is that students need more than guidance when it comes to navigating the challenges of the academic process. And that led to the development of CORE, which stands for the Comprehensive Organizer for Research Editing and Ideation. It's like your sidekick for research. It's like your companion for doing research. Now, I developed this, and I'm definitely biased, but I don't think that CORE is just a tool. It's an ecosystem that kind of supports you through the research process. There are multiple different tools, and I'm just going to go to tell you what each does. So the first we have Leo. Leo is an assistant that helps you find research gaps in the literature, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. It's like your academic version of a detective. And then we have Nora. Nora helps you plan your project by offering at least 3 different set of methodologies for your research questions. We have Omar that creates detailed outlines for your academic paper. And I know it's very difficult to outline an academic paper. I have issues with it. That's why I created this. We have Sarah, which helps with scholarly research. It's powered by Google Scholar. It goes into Google Scholar, reads the papers, provides a summary, responds to your question, and then cites them. I'll show you that in just a minute. Vida is a web explorer. It gives you the ability to chat with any website. Sadie is same thing as Vida. It helps you chat with your documents. And then we have Rivia, and Rivia is like the grammar nerd. It is the copy editing AI, provides you with copy editing tips and also revision. And I think that this is the future. This is going to be ubiquitous in higher education, these types of tools. They're going to make the learning more personalized and also efficient, and they're going to make experiences a lot more enjoyable. And who doesn't want a sidekick for research? That's just awesome. So in order to access Cori, you go to cori.dev. I'm going to put it into the chat so you have access. And if you go there, you'll come to Cori and you'll see the assistants on the side. And they're a little bit too small, so I'm going to try to make them a little bit bigger. Okay. So I'm going to start with Leo. So Leo is connected to the Elsevier database. Its job is to go and look into the Elsevier database, read the papers there about a particular topic, and then tell you what is missing in that database. So it can generate research questions and research topics for you. You need to give it a keyword, and that keyword is the keyword that comes underneath the abstract. So don't give it a phrase, just a keyword. So I'm going to use generative AI for this example. I'm going to ask it to retrieve 20 papers. 25 is the max. There are subject areas, and these subject areas are governed by Elsevier. So I'm going to say SOCI, which stands for Social Sciences. And I'm going to say, give me articles between 2024 and 2025. And what's happening is the AI is going to go into the Elsevier database, look for papers that have the keyword generative AI in them. It's going to read those papers, and it's going to summarize the 20 papers into this database that I'm going to show you in just a minute. And then the AI is going to give us gaps in the literature, like what is not in this database, and then generate research questions based on those gaps. It's going to take a moment because there's a lot of ground to cover. There we are. So the first thing that you'll see is a database of all the papers that it has read. It's going to give you the title, author, publication, DOIs, the summary of the article, so on and so forth. And then based on the summaries, the hypothesis, and methods, it's going to identify some gaps in the literature. So for example, we know that in generative AI, longitudinal impact and on cognitive and academic skills have not been explored simply because AI came around 2022. It's just too early to do longitudinal studies. We also know that there are very, very few studies looking at cross-cultural or demographic variability when it comes to AI use. So based on this, it's going to generate research questions for you. So for example, what are the long-term cognitive and academic impacts? What comprehensive ethical frameworks can be developed? What models of human AI collaborations can be enhanced? So there are many different ways you can do research right now with AI based on the Elsevier database. It doesn't look at all the databases, but it's a good start for students if they are looking for research questions. I'm going to take one of these research questions, this one, and I'm going to go to the next tool. So Nora is helping you design your research. And I'm going to paste that research question that I provided. And when you give it a research question, it's going to give you 3 different methodologies, all able to respond to the same research question. It's going to give you a quantitative methodology, a qualitative methodology, and a mixed method methodology. And of course, this is chat, right? Because you can negotiate with the AI, say, you know what, the qualitative methodology is drawing from socio-technical systems theory. I don't like that theory. Can you do it with a different theory? And it will create a new version for you. And you can communicate with it until you get a perspective that you like. So I'm going to take this qualitative methodology. Let's take all of it. And I'm going to go to the next tool. So Omar's job is to write an academic outline, for an academic paper. And it's going to need some information from you in order to do that. And that information is provided by Nora. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that information I took from Nora and paste it into Omar. And normally you would have many rounds of conversation with the AI before you get here, but this is just for demonstration. And if I hit enter, it's going to give you an outline for a paper. It's going to give you what should you say in the introduction, what should you say in the literature, what should you say in the theoretical framework, the methodology, result, discussions. And then you can tell the AI to go deeper. So for example, you can say, well, the introduction is too high level for me. Can you break it down even further? Like when you say discuss the increasing role of AI in professional settings, can you tell me what exactly I should talk about here? And it will give you, again, a smaller outline. So it's fractal. You can go at a very high level, or you can go at a very minute level, if you like. Okay. The next app that I'd like to share is Sarah. Sarah is probably my favorite app. Sarah has the ability to respond to any research question, and it's going to go into the Google database and provide us with an answer. So I'm going to say, what are the ethical implications of using generative AI in the classroom? And if you hit submit, that running, the program runs, but it's going to take a moment for it to retrieve data from the Google Scholar database. What's happening now is it's going to read those papers, read the metadata of those papers, and then it's going to generate an answer, and it's going to cite its sources from Google Scholar, and then and provide you with the links so that you can verify. So it's going to take just a second for it to generate one. So here's our response. And it's going to start citing the sources that it's gotten. But the links are also in the text themselves. So for example, if I want to know where the AI has gotten this information from, I'm just going to open this link. And it should take me directly to the paper. So if I open another link, it should take me directly to the paper. And on the bottom, so number 6 is this paper over here. Number 10 is this paper over here. Number 11 is this paper over here, so that you can verify the response of the AI. You have, you can go and check to see if what the AI think is the answer is actually the correct answer. We're gonna run. I was going to give you time to play around with this, but this is free, so you're welcome to play around with it as much as you like. But I'm going to give you some examples of how I use Corey for material development. So for an example activity that I use to support students with their research development plan is I use Nora to outline multiple approaches to methodology, research questions, and data collections. And then students present their plans into the class, discussing Nora's proposals. And for each proposal, they have to say the advantages and drawbacks. And then they say finally what their selection was. And the instruction can use the opportunity to provide feedback on their selected choice. So they have to use critical thinking and critical analysis to say which of Nora's approaches were actually the better approach. Why have they selected it? I use Sarah to basically gather a list of relevant academic resources. So I have students work with Sarah, and it generates content and also the list of the resources that Sarah has used. And then I ask them to go through the resources and evaluate which one are valid or connected best to the content that Sarah has produced, and how each source contributes to their understanding of the topic. And I provide feedback there. Rivia, by the way, the last tool, is a copy editing tool. You can provide any text and it will correct all the grammatical mistakes. Not only that, it will provide justification for why you should be changing that particular sentence. So it's going to give you here's the original version, here's the edited version, and here's my reasoning on why you should change it. So I use this to teach writing, particularly academic writing. I give students the opportunity to work with Rivia. It gives you a list of recommendations, and students need to talk about which recommendations they accept and which recommendations they reject and why. So there is a critical engagement element there. Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up because we're 2 or 3 minutes left. So we've explored different levels of the extra tools that we can use at different levels of the educational ecosystem. So Smarty is at the campus level, Casegraph is at a program level, and Corey is, well, I use it at a course level. And what has become clear, at least for me, is that personalization and customizations are a way forward. I think that's where we should take the conversations with regards to generative AI. Off-the-shelf solutions like the ones that the Americans are selling, they fall short when they have to, for particular educational context. When you make custom tools, you can design them to fit specific educational needs. So, for example, Smarty creates inclusive course outlines tailored to your university's requirements, and Casecraft generates cases that are specific to the Canadian teacher context, but we can generally change that to make it available for any context. Customization also boosts engagements. If you create a tool specifically for your institution and your students, it boosts engagement. Particularly, I have seen this with Casecraft. With regards to ethical concerns, if you create your own tools, you know where the data goes. You can delete that data, safeguard your students and your private data from going into the evil hands of the Silicon Valley Corporation. You have flexibility with customization. They can be refined. So anytime somebody gives me feedback, I go into the backend, change the code, and we have a new tool. And I think that just by working with these custom AI tools, we're supporting our students and preparing them for what's about to come, which is hyper customization, I think. So by developing these tools, we're preparing our students for a future where AI literacy is really, really crucial. So the takeaway of this entire session is very simple. Instead of relying on generic AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude, I think you should invest in building and implementing customized AI solutions. I showed 3 today that fit with specific goals and ethical values and students' needs. And to top it all off, custom AI solutions are much cheaper than commercial products. They are much cheaper, exponentially so. So the lesson of today is let's enhance the potential of personalized, ethically designed AI to transform and enhance the student experience. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing. If you have any questions, comments, anything I should be aware of, shoot. Casecraft is having issues with providing the output in different languages. Yes, so we have to change that in the backend. I'd have to go back into the code and redesign it so that it creates for a particular language. In the backend, right now, I've specifically said English, but we can definitely change that. So yeah, everything that I've provided, they are privacy protected. They do not go. So we use an enterprise level API. We use a Canadian server to access GPT-4. So no data is stored. No data that is inputted or outputted will be used for training at all. Everything that you put into this is immediately deleted after the generation is complete. Can Sarah pinpoint the particular segment of the text is used? Not yet, but that would be an awesome feature. More to come on that soon. If you'd like to collaborate with me, I really welcome it. My whole research and focus and my approach to artificial intelligence is customization for a unique environment. So if you like any of these tools or you're thinking about creating your own, please feel free to reach out. We'll sit and talk and see if we can adapt these tools or create a new tool that fits with the learning needs of your institution. Do you plan to introduce tools with which people would be able to customize themselves in the future? We're not there yet. We don't have platforms that have this capability just yet. I think in the future where we have faster models, we might be able to do that. But right now, it has to be hard-coded. You have to have someone that is able to code with AI in order to do this. I think that there will be AIs that will be your co-pilot, and you tell them what they want, and they will create a customized tool for you. That's probably what's going to happen. And then you won't even need to know code anymore. On the other side, I wonder, yes, I use Python in the back. It would be great if you could provide for people who want. Yeah, I think learning Python is really important now. But I think, again, in the future, we'll have AIs that you just simply tell them what you want and they will create it for you. But we can certainly do a workshop where I walk you through the process of making a simple chatbot or a customized tool that you like. That's not going to be a problem. Okay, then.
We have come to an end of this first session of the workshop. Soroush, thank you very much. This was super interesting. I thank you again, Soroush. Hope to see you around. And thank you for introducing these amazing tools to us.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. Take care.